Hi, my name is Stacey Lynn. I spent 20 years working in local news, and 13 years ago, I married an NFL player turned coach, Anthony Lynn, and joined the world of NFL super wives. I've always loved hearing about the life behind the headlines. It's where you find the common thread that connects us. That's what I want to do here. My husband played and coached for the Broncos and 49ers. He's currently the running backs coordinator for the Commanders. We've moved 6 times across the country for his various jobs. When I first met my husband, I didn't know anything about football. I just loved the commercials and the snacks. Well, trust me, that's changed. In my new NFL world, the wives became my family and confidants. It is a sisterhood that transcends teams and rivalries. In each episode, I'll talk with a significant other of a player or coach, the football wives who hold it all together. We'll get real and give you a behind-the-scenes glimpse of it all. This is the world that I want to share with you. Welcome to Super Wives of the NFL, their inside stories. Let's kick it off. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Super Wives of the NFL. I have my friend Kristin Weaver here today. Hi, Kristin.
Hi. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Her husband is Anthony Weaver. He is the defensive coordinator with the Miami Dolphins. And we met way back in the day. I feel like I say this all the time on this podcast, but we met with the Jets way back when Anthony first started coaching, right?
100%. Yep. And I remember actually, Stacey, you were like the most beautiful person in the room. You came up to me instantly. You made me feel right at home. And at that point, I didn't have any friends or family just yet there. You were like a light to me. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I always try to be that person because I was, in that position one day where I was the new kid on the block. I didn't know anybody and people were so nice to me. But I remember Rex used to have cookouts and stuff at his house all the time. And we were at a cookout and you guys showed up and Anthony had said, Weave is coming. I think he's bringing his girl because you guys weren't married then. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, he's good people. You'll get to meet him. So I was like, okay, I already know he's good people. And then when you showed up and you were so pretty and just so nice. And then, we all just kind of found our rhythm.
I think so. You and I instantly hit it off. And I just remember thinking how because not just your beauty on the outside, but on the inside. And it just shined through because I was thinking how cool it was that you had this big time career. And yet we're still like an NFL coach's wife because I know it's hard to find that balance. And you just pulled it off beautifully. You're inspiring to me. That's what I got from all of that.
Well, at the time you had work, you had a really big career too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, all of that sort of ended the minute that I was 8 months pregnant, still working 2 jobs. And in order to go be a complete family, we had to go move out. And we moved out of the state for the first time ever in my life and go be a part of the new coach, Anthony Weaver's life. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to start that.
You've been there. So you were a Texas girl. So tell me about, Texas?
Yes. So okay. Houston, Texas.
Houston. Yep. All right. So Anthony played for the Texans and the Ravens. So just tell me about his career because he had a really successful career.
Yeah. So he started when I met him, he was a player for the Texans. Before that, he played for the Baltimore Ravens. But I know you're trying to get to this part. And yes, I was a truck driver when we met. I worked on land rigs. So I drove hot shots and goosenecks and convoys. I hauled pipe. I even loaded it and unloaded it at some point there. I would park my big old CB radio truck outside his house. And I remember the players and his friends would be over and be like, who the hell is at your house? It's me, 5'3" me.
Girl, cool. Little petite. How did you get into truck driving?
Well, I started with sales and then it just kind of transformed. They needed help driving the trucks and I was like, I'll do it. But I'll tell you, I've always had more than one job. I am a go-getter. And at the same time, I was also bartending. I was modeling. I actually ended up buying out one of the owners from the restaurants and the restaurant that I was bartending at, and I brought the oil field to us. So we were the oil field hangouts, Capone's Bar and Oven, and it's been open almost 20 years now. Still open. Okay. Still there.
I didn't know all of this.
Yeah. And when we go visit, we go all the time. So my mom and dad instilled this work ethic from like a very young age. I've always worked. I think 12 years old was probably my first. I went to go sell ice cream at swim meets, and I'm like looking back, like, was that legal? I was 12. I don't think so. But you couldn't tell me not to work. I've always been like that.
And there's so much to talk about with you. You are still working now, even married to a very successful NFL player, former player, and coach. Why do you think you have such a work ethic? And we'll talk about your new business in a second because you're a life coach. But even with the two young boys at home, why is working just such a part of the fabric of who you are?
I just think I was raised that way. It's just always been that way with my family. My mom, my dad are just go-getter grinders. And we can talk about my business because I know you had wondered at one point, like, why now to do this?
You're a life coach. You have a
yeah,
life coach business.
Yep. Dream by Weaver LLC is a very clever name. My husband thought of that. But so just after Justice, our 7-year-old, he's our youngest. We've got 13 AJ and 7 is Justice. And I felt like as he was getting older, I was losing my shine a little bit. You know, we were done making humans. There was gonna be no more kids. And I just felt not like myself. You know, I preach to everyone about living your life's purpose. And I'm extremely, extremely proud, don't get me wrong, to be Coach Weaver's wife and AJ and Justice's mom. But I did lose track of who I was. Like, I didn't hear my name, like Kristin. It was Coach Weaver's wife, AJ and Justice's mom, which again, grateful to be that. But it wasn't me. Like, that wasn't my purpose. So my purpose, it's not to be just a coach. It's to be inspiring and motivating. And I want to help other people reach their highest potentials. I have all these certifications and I have a wealth of knowledge of things, but I didn't know how to share that just yet with the world and still be able to run the family with Anthony's schedule. And I know you can attest to that. You know how their schedule is. That's
Right.
the thing. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So I had to find something I could combine all of these and do from home. And I did. And I'm like, I am living on purpose now.
So when you counsel, I'm assuming women, but maybe men, like how do you help them master the work-life balance, which is something that's hard for any working man or even working woman? What's your advice for women listening who say, how do you manage all of this? How do I juggle it all and be good at most of it, most of the time?
Well, I will say that you can have it all. And that's the thing. You just have to know how to balance it. And that's part of like being here now in the moment. These moments aren't going to come back. You have to know what's important to you and so there's a tool. I teach a Clarity Catalyst course, which is also part of my life coaching, but it's Stanford University based course. And it's on mindfulness and emotional intelligence. And be here now is what we use. Like there's a tool. So 3 times a day, set your alarm on your phone and let it say, be here now, just to pop up. And what you'll find out is either you're regretting the past or you're thinking about the future and you're forgetting to be in that present moment. Like what is going on right now and just be grateful for that moment. I'll give you an example. We go to vacation. How many times you're on vacation with littles and you're like, oh gosh, the sunscreen, the hats, did we make reservations, all these things. And we're forgetting to be like, let's just splash around with our kids in the pool. That's when you spend all this money, just be here now in the present moment where peace lives. And it's just a little tool or a little reminder to do such a thing.
Staying grounded right where you are.
100%.
You touched on something earlier. You said that you wanted to find your purpose, and it's great being AJ and Justice's mom and Anthony's wife. And I can relate to that. I would always laugh at how, I had this big career and I would work and I was Stacey Bell, Fox 8 News, Stacey Bell, NBC. And then I would go to spend time with Anthony and there would be an entire group of people who only knew me as Aidlin's wife. And it's like, okay, that's great. That's cool. But, I kind of got other stuff going on for me.
Yes, I am also cool.
Yeah, it's so yeah, I can really relate to that. And a part of why I wanted to do this podcast was because I wanted to tell the stories of NFL women and our sisterhood, but also I wanted to do something to use my talents. I'm going to always support my husband and be there for him, but I think that's very important to tap into your God-given talents, whatever. And it may not be a job, it may be a hobby, right?
Yeah. Philanthropy even.
That's it. That's so important. We were texting the other day and I forget what we were texting about, but we started talking about imposter syndrome. And I know I've had a lot of that in terms of trying to venture out and do something where I'm not a news anchor. So how
Yeah.
do you help your clients get over that imposter syndrome?
I mean, I think it's important to understand that term. It's like a nagging feeling, maybe, that you don't deserve your achievements, or that you don't deserve a place at this table, like you're faking it and someone's going to find you out. That's sort of what that means. So authenticity, though, that is what will help cancel it out. The moment that you stop trying to be who you think they want you to be and you start being who God created you to be, the pressure just lifts. You realize, wait, I do belong here, because I'm not here to be perfect. I'm here to be real. And I think that's what people are attracted to. Like attracts like. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you're stepping into a room full of people, and maybe like new moms or business owners, or maybe a husband's NFL event, and then this imposter syndrome creeps in, and you hear, you don't fit in here. They're more successful. They're more experienced. But when you shift into the authenticity, the pressure's just, like I said, it just sort of eases. And instead of trying to sound like impressive or who you think they expect you to sound like, you're just like, okay, wait, I'm Kristin. So take it or
Yeah.
leave it. You're when you're being so authentic, it's hard for that little itty bitty shitty committee that lives in all of our heads to shout out, you don't belong here. You know better.
I love that. Authenticity that's so important to me. And my stepdaughter and my daughter-in-law, we've all been on different teams with you. And that's one thing we always say about you, is that Kristin, she is who she is all of the time. She's not going to change for the president, the NFL commissioner, the concession stand worker, the parking lot attendant. You are consistently who you are.
Thank you. That means so much to me to hear you say that. Like, that just, it makes my heart happy. Thank you.
And I think that was a part of what attracted me to you. Okay, so we want to talk about also, you told me a couple of months ago you are on your way to being a published author.
Yes. Okay. So we just want to dive right into this?
Dive right in.
Okay. It was the most traumatic moments as a mother to see my then 11-year-old, he's 13-year-old, start struggling with this debilitating anxiety. It came out of nowhere. Anthony and I were like blindsided by this thing. Our whole family was. All of a sudden, AJ's legs wouldn't work. He was part of this travel basketball team, so it wasn't anything new. And suddenly he couldn't just step foot on a court anymore. I mean, I slept on his floor for 3 months because he thought he was going to be sick at night. I took my clients out of Zoom, out of my car, so he could see me out the window at school. I mean, it was really humbling because Dad, this big NFL coach, leader of men, mom, your life coach, and we couldn't help our child. And I was like, it was just a nightmare. Like, didn't believe it was real. And so, what we did was we documented through this with his journaling. And I'm telling you, I threw every tool I had in my toolbox at him. And what we did was turn this negative, horrible moment into something positive to help other children see their way through this silent, horrific battle that they're fighting in their minds. And I couldn't be more proud of AJ for not just co-authoring this book. He's a co-author, but to not be ashamed and use his voice to help other kids. He wants them to know that they're not alone. And this is going to make me emotional. Whew. He wants them to know they're not alone, or nothing's wrong with them, that they can get through it, So we want to break down this negative stigma and shame that there is about anxiety, so that it doesn't turn into depression. And that can very easily happen. The suicide rates for children and teens is insanely high. We have to do something about that. Let's use our voices. So a pivotal moment for us specifically was when I saw my son's screensaver, and it was a stick figure, and it was a little boy, and he was taking off a smiley face, and underneath it was a sad face. And I was like, whoa, like, this is going to be a major problem if we don't start figuring out what's going on here. And that was like instant. Now the phone calls, doctors, tell me what I need to do, chop off my own arm, I will, So I just thank the Lord every day that we are hopefully on the other side of it. And it might not be forever, because that's kind of how this thing works. But we're going to celebrate these wins, and we're going to share what did work for us. And hopefully just to reach any amount of kids, whether it be one or a gajillion, to just feel like they're not by themselves, you know. And just AJ on the other side is just this confident, beautiful young man on the inside and the outside. God, this kid's gorgeous. And he's thriving now. And we could not be more grateful. And I mean, I think the word of the day is grateful. You're going to hear me say it a million times. The working title for this book is A Family's Playbook to Coping with Anxiety. And it is truly our real life comeback story. So it's all out there. There it is.
Now, how old was he when this started to happen, and were there any signs?
So he's 11. He started at 11 when it was the thick of it. We were up in Baltimore, and no, there was no signs. I mean, as a younger kid, you know, he was raised in a stadium. I met you. We were at the Jets, and he didn't like loud noises. So we were like, okay, you know, maybe just developmental things. And I mean, it touches on all of the signs that we thought were there, and maybe that we thought other developmental issues were happening, but we got him tested for everything. And it was just, like, I don't want to say this wrong, Stace, but because like in the book, you know, like I can't say certain things, but so there, yeah. So I don't want to say it incorrectly, but there's studies and studies and studies in the book of different things that it could have been. His was socialized anxiety, like disorder. So social anxiety disorder, but there's so many.
Like I've heard that term, or you hear more about this, and I don't know if it's because of the pressures of social media. I don't know, but I feel like I hear more about socialized anxiety than I ever have before.
Yeah, the numbers are astounding, and I blame a slew of things. So again, I can't go too deep into it, but I will say that the more we opened our mouth about this, the more interest came from other people, and they're like, "Wait, my kid's struggling too. Could we share?" And it turned into this book of now collaborated different stories of some well-known people and some maybe not so well-known people, and it's just it's reaching kids everywhere. So it doesn't matter what your parents do for a living, how much money you have in the bank, anxiety is happening. Again, without saying too much detail about it, I will be sharing updates on when it's going to come out on my website and out on my Instagram at Dream by Weaver LLC. But I can say that Jeff Darlington, very well-known sports reporter and close friend of the family, he heard about our project, what we're trying to do, and he has graciously written a very powerful foreword, and I can't wait to share it with everyone. He's got a gift for writing, so I'm grateful to our friend.
Well, it says so much about you that you guys were plugged in as parents, and I know this is who you are as a mom, super wife, but that you were plugged in and you could see the signs and you knew something was wrong, and maybe not a sign, but you just knew, okay, something's not right with my child.
Right, 100%. And I'm grateful for the backing that we had, and that we could just call someone instantly and get in to go and try to figure out what was going on. But again, I hate that I can't talk about all the details in this because it's not there. So what the thing is being shopped around to publishers. There's so much interest, so I just can't talk too much about it.
I understand. But at what point did you go from, we've had this experience, we know how we should help other people, to we're going to just tell our story and put a book out there, and our son is okay with it and we're okay with it? Like, what made you decide to do that?
So we were, journaled through most of his stuff. I threw every tool I had in my life coaching toolbox at him, and some of these things stuck and some of these things didn't. And I'm like, how wonderful that I am a life coach with tools to try to fix it and see what works. And some other parents might have zero clue on how to even attempt to go at this. So I started just writing things down, and in the thick of it, I think it was therapeutic for me because I knew I wasn't perfect, and, it was just trial and error. And I think it was therapeutic for him. I know the journaling helped him quite a bit. And to go back and see those entries, I was like, kids would benefit from this. But it wasn't me that was like forcing him to do this. When he started feeling tiny bit better, he's like, I don't want any kids to ever feel like this. He wanted to do this. So I didn't want to share his story. It's not my story to tell.
Exactly.
This is an AJ thing, and I couldn't be more proud.
So you're shopping it around to publishers. It has to be exciting though, because this is another piece in terms of walking in your purpose.
Absolutely. Yes. I just know that I'm in my flow. There's this synchronicity that's been happening. You just you meet the right people right around you that's going to help you get there. And everything is coming together. So I feel, like I said, grateful. Word of the day.
Okay. And I'm not going to say, but you did tell me there were some big names in it. And I know you can't say that yet, but it's interesting how many other people, and you touched on this, have experienced this and they're willing to share their stories.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing, breaking down that stigma. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Let's talk about it.
Okay. We got to talk about the football world, the NFL, and the sisterhood. People often talk about Miami's a cool city. I love Miami, but I feel like it's a different beast. It seems really flashy. The women seem like they all have, nice bodies and, all the things. What is it like being a part of Miami and the Dolphins organization? Are any surprises or anything where you're like, this is really cool. This is a nice organization.
I feel like, and I can feel my smile get bigger when people ask this question because we freaking love it here. We love it here. But I'll tell you, we live in Fort Lauderdale. So I think we've only been to Miami maybe 3 times since we've lived here, but not for any other reason than we just love the city that we're in. It's all things gorgeous, all the South Florida. I tell you what, it's beautiful. But we do have friends that live out there and friends all over. And it's like the energy is so infectious all over. I don't know if it's the sunshine or the vibes, or maybe just because our kids are thriving, that could have something to do with it. But you know what? The 3-minute golf cart ride, that definitely helps a mood around here versus, I was driving 25 minutes one way. But the stadium is in Miami Gardens. And I can't say enough positive things about this team. The fan base, the atmosphere, the owner, my gosh, he's extremely generous and kind. The general manager, his wife, Paige, she is awesome. Our head coach, his wife, my good friend, Katie, coolest, most thoughtful people ever. I feel we're just so blessed. We're so blessed to be here.
Well, you guys you were with the Ravens and Anthony played for the Ravens, right?
Uh-huh.
So I knew it had to be a big deal for you guys to go to the Dolphins when he went there, right?
Yes, but we've been all over really. Before this, he was with the Ravens. Before that, the Texans as a coach. Before that, the Browns, the Bills, the Jets. And then he played for the Ravens even before that. I mean, he's been 20 years in the league. So we've been all over. Wait, how about you guys?
Were we at the Bills together? I forgot. Were we there at the same time?
We went with Pettin for 1 year. Do you remember that?
We were gone by then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. There's so much intersection in this business.
It is. Wait, how many years have you guys been in the league?
Girl, I don't. Anthony has been in the league since Jesus was born. He's been in the league 30 plus years. We've been together 17 years. I've been, making moves and moving around with him. But no, he's been doing this for 30 years.
Wow. What a blessing.
So it's a lifetime, it seems like. The other question I wanted to ask, I love your videos that you started posting last year. I think it was with the experience, your fit, the family stuff, the fun. What made you want to share just the inside look of what it's like for a coach's wife and family on game day?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. I think it's important to document. Like, I love it. I love all the steps along the way of this journey. It's cool also to look back and reflect from game to game. I think with the kids and everything, it's fun. And then obviously, you want to look back at the wins more than the losses. That's just normal. But I mean, I actually thrive off of watching your posts because you're traveled, you're all over the place. I'm like, man, I got to step my game up. Mine is just in the city I live in. That's not fair. You go everywhere, lady.
You know what I do? I love to travel, and we don't have little ones at home, so it makes it, easier for me. But I do. I'm trying to make up for what I couldn't afford to do, back in the day.
You're crushing it.
So what is the hardest part for you of the NFL life?
Just missing my husband so much. First you get this sort of your own schedule and everything whenever they're gone at work all the time. And then what I like to call it, I think Katie calls it this a re-entry period. When the season, you get that 5 weeks. And then now all of a sudden these two very different schedules combine. You're like, whoa, like it's going to take a minute to get, okay, I'll give and take a few. But then you get so used to having them there because they get, for us, like the 5 weeks off, and you get so used to having them there and being with the kids and the kids. Now that's the tough part too. They miss daddy. What I will say, them getting older is better because they get to see him at night. They're not in bed before he gets home anymore. Not all the time. 13-year-old is up so late now. Oh, it's getting older. But no, it's just a time away. What'd you say?
Yeah, teenager.
That I know. And I'm like, if I could be in bed at 9:30 every night, I would be. But, I was going to say, I think it's so, for example, this season started and I'm like, yes, preseason games. We're so excited. Football's back on. I'm like, oh, wait, Dad, that means Dad's gone. Like, that's how, it is. That's the thing. We just miss Dad. That's all.
I know. I totally get it. I can relate.
Okay, thanks for listening, and thanks in advance for liking this podcast and leaving a review. Meet you here next week.